So one thing I've been trying to do is to see how builds translate from season to season in Diablo 4. So this video, I'm going to be going over a Stormclaw Druid build that is very similar to a Stormclaw Druid build from season 2. And I was actually able to get pretty close to a Stormclaw Druid build from season 2. One of the main differences is that a lot more of your power is held within your items compared to season 2, where a lot more of your power was held in your vampiric powers. Now for any Stormclaw Druid build, you're going to need the Great Staff of the Crone. With the special that Claw is now a storm skill and also casts Storm Strike at up to 150% normal damage. So anytime we use a Claw, it'll also use a Storm Strike, and we get a bunch of extra ranks to Claw, and Storm Strike just deals a lot more damage than normal. So this is the one unique you absolutely need for any Stormclaw Druid build to work, but we are going to be using 4 total uniques in this version of the build right now, and we'll go over the rest later on in the video. So that brings us to our skill tree, starting with our basic skills, which are going to be our main damage dealers. Starting off, we have 5 points into Claw, which is going to be the main ability we're actually using. Upgrade 1 increases its attack speed. Upgrade 2 gives it a chance to attack twice. Now, because of Great Staff of the Crone, anytime Claw attacks twice, it will also trigger 2 Storm Strikes. Then we have 5 points into Storm Strike. This also has a cleaving effect, so it jumps to multiple enemies and gives us damage reduction. Upgrade 1 has a chance to immobilize. Upgrade 2 has a high chance to cause enemies to be vulnerable, which is the main way we're applying vulnerable. Then we're going down, we're taking Earthern Bulwark. This is just some barrier. One of the main reasons we're taking it is because of Upgrade 1, which makes you unstoppable. So this is our main way to become unstoppable. Then we're going to be taking Cyclone Armor, which is just non-physical damage reduction. When you activate it, it does some AoE damage. Upgrade 1 slows enemies that are hit by the active, and Upgrade 2 gives you a damage reduction every 10 seconds. Then we're taking Bloodhowl, which is just a big heal. Upgrade 1 reduces the cooldown on kill. Upgrade 2 gives you increased attack speed, which is one of the main reasons we're taking this. So you want to spam Bloodhowl as much as possible. Then we're going down, we're taking Hurricane, which is just an AoE around you. Upgrade 1 slows enemies. Upgrade 2 makes enemies deal less damage. Hurricane is actually going to be very important in this build because it's going to trigger a ton of additional effects. Then for our ultimate, we're going down, we're taking Petrify, which stuns all nearby enemies, makes you deal massively increased critical strike damage. When it's used on a boss, it just lasts a lot longer and makes you deal even more critical strike damage. And with this build, we'll be able to have our ultimate up a ridiculous amount of the time. We'll be able to constantly be refreshing it. So this also allows you to fully CC your entire screen a lot of the time. So once you get into very highly difficult content, you'll be able to CC pretty much everything at all times. Then for our capstone, we're going down, we're taking Bestial Rage. After being in Werewolf for 2 seconds, gain 30% attack speed for 15 seconds. This will be up basically 100% of the time, so this is basically just 30% attack speed. And then for our passives, we have Predatory Instinct for increased critical strike chance. We have increased movement speed while in Werewolf and 3 seconds after, so that'll be up majority of the time. Ancestral Fortitude for increased resistances. Then Vigilance, we get DR every time we use a defensive. This will be up 100% of the time. Then we're going down 1 to 2 Elemental Exposure, which just has a small chance to make enemies vulnerable. This is mainly to get Endless Tempest, so increases the duration of our Hurricane, which again is very important for this build. And then Bad Omen, which is a lucky hit, up to a 30% chance when dealing damage to vulnerable or immobilized enemies to spawn a lightning bolt that does a bunch of additional damage, and this will be massively buffed from some of our Paragon nodes. Then we're taking Neurotoxin to get Toxic Claws. Crits with werewolf skills put a poison on enemies. We only care that they're poisoned for more scaling. Then we have Envenom. You and your companions deal massively increased critical strike damage against those poison enemies, and if you have best in slot rolls, Envenom on your necklace is going to be some massive damage increase. And then we're taking 3 into Defiance. Nature skills deal more damage to elites. Then we're going down 1 into Quick Shift. When a shapeshifting skill transforms you into another form, it deals more damage. And then Heightened Senses, upon shapeshifting into a werewolf or werebear, gain pretty big damage reduction against elites for 5 seconds, and will actually be shapeshifting quite a bit. And then we have our Spirit Boons, starting with Wariness, take reduced damage from elites. Then we have Swooping Attacks for increased attack speed, and then Avian Wraith for massively increased critical strike damage. Then we're using Calamity to extend the duration of our Petrify. There's also not really anything else in this row that's that good. And then we have Masochistic, which is a lucky hit. Critical strikes with shapeshifting skills have up to a 75% chance to heal you for 3% of your max life. This will still proc quite a bit, even though it's not as good as it was back when Diablo 4 came out. And then we have our Companion. Now I currently have still not gotten any of the unique gems, so this is still a pretty good build, but these will be changing once you can get the unique stones, because those will be replacing some of the other tuning stones. But first off, we have Tempest. Main reason we're using this is because it's the fastest casting skill for your companion. Then we have Swift support, so it casts it even quicker. We have Fortify support, so anytime this skill is used from your companion, you get 640 fortify. That's at rank 8. It'll be more as you rank it up and get to 10, but this is the main way you fortify, and because this casts so quickly, this will actually keep you fortified all you need. And then I'm also using efficiency support. When the supporting skill deals damage, you gain crit chance towards that enemy. Now this is primarily really good against bosses, so you'll have massively increased critical strike chance against bosses specifically. Then the other ability we're using is Flash of Adrenaline, which is just a multiplicative damage increase for you. We have tactical support, which reduces its cooldown, duration support to increase its duration, and when you have both of these at level 10, you'll be able to have this Flash of Adrenaline buff up 100% of the time. Currently mine is only a second off, but when they're leveled up, you'll just have this multiplicative damage at all times. Then I'm using gripping support. Anytime it's used, it'll pull in enemies, but this is primarily just a placeholder until we can get the Genesis Stone, which will just massively increase the multiplicative damage. And once you get the Evernight Stone, which gives you the +4 ranks to all skills, you'll be putting that in place of the efficiency support, which will also allow you to have +4 ranks to all skills at all times because of how fast Tempest is cast. And then we have our Paragon Boards, and these may change as I level up my glyphs more and more, but this is pretty good right now. So starting off, we have the Territorial Glyph, damage to close enemies, damage reduction from close enemies. This is actually really good because the first board we're taking is the Thunderstruck board, which storm skills do increased damage equal to 20% of your damage versus close and damage versus distant. Mine's currently at 27%, but this will go up massively as I level up the Territorial Glyph even more. And the glyph we're taking is Earth and Sky, a bonus to magic nodes within range, so things like damage reduction from vulnerable, storm skill damage, and then more primary sets. And the secondary effect is nature skills deal increased damage to vulnerable or crowd controlled enemies. And then we're going over to the right, we're taking the Heightened Malice board. When 3 or more enemies are poisoned, you deal massively increased damage. And then the glyph we're taking is Fang and Claw, another bonus to magic nodes within range. So damage to poison enemies, damage reduction from poison enemies. The secondary is while in Werewolf, close enemies take massively increased damage from you. And then we're going up, we're taking the Inner Beast board, but we're not taking the node itself. The glyph we're taking is Undaunted, increased damage while fortified, damage reduction while fortified. And one of the main things you're going to want to be taking on this board is the rare and magic nodes that give you increased attack speed. And this is pretty massive increases to attack speed. And then we're going over to the left, we're taking the Earthen Devastation board. The glyph we're taking is Electrocution, massively increased lightning bolt and dancing bolt damage, and enemies damaged by your lightning bolts or dancing bolts take pretty big increased damage from you for 5 seconds, and we'll have some lightning bolts proccing from some of our passive effects. And then we're going over, we're going down, we're going over to the right, we're taking the Lust for Carnage board, and the glyph we're taking is Spirit. Mine's currently not leveled up at all, but this will give you pretty big increased critical strike damage. And then when you get the secondary effect, critical strikes make enemies take more damage from you. You also want to be taking the rare and magic nodes here that also give you some pretty big increases to attack speed as well. And then this brings us to our gear, and in your weapon, you're going to want basic skill damage for your gems. In your armor, you're going to want max life. And then in your jewelry, you want whatever gems are going to cap out your resistances. And once you have all capped resistances, if you don't need any more gems, just put skull gems in for more armor. Now we already went over our weapon, Great Staff of the Crone, but we're using 3 more uniques. First off being Flicker Step. Each enemy you evade through reduces your ultimate cooldown by up to 4 seconds, up to 10 seconds total per evade. So if you evade through a bunch of enemies, your ultimate cooldown will be reduced by 10 seconds. And the explicit of this is attacks reduce evade's cooldown by 1.2 seconds. And one of our basic attacks will proc this multiple times. So only a couple attacks and you'll have your evade back. So you can have your ultimate up basically whenever you want. And then for our gloves, we're using one of the new uniques, which damaging enemies with a non-basic attack skill marks them for 3 seconds. When a basic skill first hits a marked enemy, that basic skill damage is echoed to all marked enemies, dealing up to 200% increased damage. And this is multiplicative. So basically, anything that's not a basic skill, when it damages an enemy, it marks them. When you basic attack something, it basically bounces that basic attack damage to all marked enemies. And this is one of the areas that I can make this version of the build so much stronger because I got a low roll on its effect. It can be up to 200% multiplicative damage, which is absurd. Once you get a good roll on these gloves, you're going to be dealing massive amounts of damage. And then finally, we have our Malignant Ring, which when casting an ultimate skill, and again 5 seconds after, you pull in distant enemies and deal up to around 4,000 base physical damage to them. The damage is increased by 1% multiplicative per 1 point of willpower you have. So you use your ultimate, it pulls in everything, does damage to them, and then does the same thing 5 seconds after. And the damage it's dealing is actually pretty big. I have almost 900 willpower. You could actually get more if you got a % willpower roll on your necklace, but the damage is pretty good and it pulls in everything close to you. So when you mix that with the effect from our gloves and a hurricane, you hurricane, pull everything to you everything gets marked from our gloves. You basic attack once and it bounces that basic attack to everything, and you can pretty much just instantly kill big packs of enemies with this. But then that brings us to our legendary aspects. On your necklace, you want basic skills, increase attack speed up to 45%. And then for your ring, you want one of the new legendary aspects. When you cast a basic skill at or above 50% of your maximum resource, your basic skill will deal up to 80% increased multiplicative damage. This is the other spot where I can massively increase the damage of this build, because this will just be a damage increase. We don't use any resources, so we'll always be capped. So if you get a good roll on this legendary aspect, you'll just be dealing 80% increased multiplicative damage for a majority of your damage. So mixing a good roll with this and our gloves, I'll be probably doubling or more than doubling all the damage I'll be dealing. So these two rolls are actually pretty important. And then for our defensive rolls, we're going to be taking the new armor aspect. You gain massively increased armor, but your evade has a 100% increased cooldown. Now this downside is almost completely negated by the implicit on flicker step, because your attacks reduce evade's cooldown and just a couple attacks will fully reset the cooldown. So this is just massively increased armor. And because this is so much armor, this will cap out my armor just with this and through all of our other gear being upgraded. Then another defensive is basic skills grant 20% damage reduction. The roll on this really doesn't matter because it's just the duration and we're always going to be basic attacking. Then our final defensive aspect is gain up to 15% damage reduction while in werewolf, which will be a majority of the time. It shapeshifts us into werewolf when we use our basic skill, so this will just be another big damage reduction. And like with all my builds now, I won't be going over the stats you're going to want to be looking for. It's just much easier for you to check the build planner in the description, and you can check a list of all of the best stats much more easily than me taking a few minutes to go through all of the potential good stats in the video. But that's the entirety of this build, and there are different variations of this build that I think are really strong as well that I'm going to go over in future build videos, but this is as close of a recreation as I could get for a Stormclaw build from season 2, and I think it works really well. I think it plays in a very similar way, and the power is right around the same area. If I get better rolls for my gloves and my legendary aspect here, I think it may actually be stronger, but this build will allow you to easily do any content currently in the game. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.
I must wait a moment. I'm not ready yet. I must wait a moment. I must wait a moment. I must wait a moment. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. I must wait a moment.